Last time on Fourth Wing, Violet fought with her hot enemy, and he gave her a cringy nickname. We continued to learn that Dane is the undesirable boy for some reason. Violet decided that now her goal is 100% to become a dragon rider. How dare anyone question that? Violet practiced on a weird vertical obstacle course, because of course they have one of those. What sort of magical warrior training school doesn't have a weird vertical obstacle course, Violet easily overcame the super random obstacle course with her mega big brain thinking. And then Violet and company had to go for a little walk in front of all the dragons and talk to each other. Because the plot said so. Alright, we're back on yet another allergy-filled late summer day. Ferrets are loose, so there may be chaos. And also my washing machine is going. But we all know at this point that you just soak in the house noises as though we are in the same house together. Tindy, what are you doing? One thing that people might be saying about this book is that, Julian, you're judging it too harshly. It's not supposed to be anything deep or special or meaningful. It's literally supposed to just follow all of the beats so that people who don't normally read fantasy will like to read fantasy. Hello. Hi. Yeah. But the aggression. How do I know which one you are? Oh my goodness. I'm under attack. Immediately under attack. Just immediately. You see this? You see what I have to put up with? I can't even read my book. I'm trying to talk about this terrible book, and here you are, trying to bite me. Look at her chops. The taste of mother's flesh. You're so naughty. Why don't you go cause chaos with your sister, huh? Look at all the chaos you could be causing. She doesn't ever do any damage. Look. Nothing. No marks. She's just playing. But anyway. But Julian, this isn't supposed to be a complex book. And it's like, yes, but the world is full to the brim of books that have nothing new to give us. Can we at least try to do something new? You might be like, the dragons are something new. We have no dragons. Look. No dragons yet. We have seen some now, but she's still... By this point in the book, I would have already had her bond with her dragon, and significant portion of the book would be her and her new dragon and their experiences together. But no, because really what we are supposed to care about is the most tepid of romance plots. And I don't know why I should care about either of them, except for the main character as a self-insert, where I'm supposed to pretend I'm her and then just be desired by two opposing boys. I get it. Sometimes you just want more of the same. But why do we always have to be hyping up these books that are more of the same as though they are, special? Everybody is losing their minds over it on TikTok. Now I get it, a lot of those people are young people. By the way, if it looks like I'm sobbing, I'm not filled with passion about this book. It's still allergy season. A lot of these tropes aren't cliche yet for those young people because this is some of their first time reading them. And so to them it probably feels revolutionary. A book has never made me feel this way. Oh my gosh, but I have good news for you young people. There are so many more books that are better than this that will make you feel so many types of way. Anyway, I don't really know where I was really going with this rant, except for it isn't necessarily a bad thing, that this is just more hyper popular, shoveled out there to tick all of the boxes kind of fiction, because this kind of thing sells. It just makes me sad sometimes thinking about how many amazing books there are out in the world that are completely unknown because everybody is losing their mind over this. We have the potato chips. This is a potato chips book. This isn't special or unique or amazing. Well written, well characterized. It's just the author has indeed put words one after the other, and they do seem to be telling a story. But that is how it works. It has basically probably since there has been fiction until the end of time. What's popular is popular, and what can feed into that popularity will be successful. And this author just happened to hit all of the right buttons at exactly the right time. Most of us can't manage to do that. This is the exception, not the rule, where all of these tropes right now just happen to be the most popular tropes, and this author managed to get this book out at just the right time. I'll just write a book called Ferrets Pooped on My Rug. I don't know how much of that rant I will keep. I might cut it down because, like, it was kind of pointless. It was just being grumpy. But anyway, I think I'm just stalling at this point. I'm just stalling because I don't want to read chapter 13. The quote at the top is, "There's nothing quite as humbling or as awe-inspiring as witnessing threshing." Not the threshing, just threshing, capital T. For those who live through it anyway. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind. All right, let's go. Lucky number 13. Maybe we will finally have her bonding with her dragon. That would be over 150 pages into this book. If I was doing this book and I had to have 150 pages of preamble, if somebody said you cannot have her bond with her dragon before 150 pages, I would have lessons about how to handle dragons. Like, we do get one, like, part of one lesson that's like, here's some characteristics of some dragons, but like, we don't, if we're not going to actually be getting the dragons, can we learn how to deal with dragons? Speaking of which, read Dealing with Dragons. It's a much better dragon book. Can we not learn how to do that at least beforehand, so we like have the anticipation of dragons? Most of the time these characters aren't even thinking about dragons at all. So why do we come to dragon school? It's like if Harry Potter had gone to the school for magic and spent all of the time in a will they won't they relationship with Draco Malfoy, and every now and then he remembers that he's here to learn magic. There's probably a fan fiction that is that, but... Also, if you've ever come here and been like, Julian, why don't you ever do read-alongs of books that you like? I have. Dealing with Dragons is a read-along that I did of a book that I liked. So if you want some positivity in your life, go check that one out. October 1st is always the threshing, she says. Now that makes me wonder, are the seasons the same in their world? Or like, what is their climate like where they are? Because October in Wisconsin, beginning of fall, maybe even hedging on like getting towards the middle of fall, it's getting colder. And it seems like winter would be a terrible time to have to be learning how to ride a dragon. But I don't really know what their climate is like. Maybe it just stays warm all year round where they are. She also says Monday, Wednesday, or Sunday, it doesn't matter where it falls on any given year. Well, it wouldn't. You live in a fictional world. The only reason that Sunday matters to us is religion. Religion made Sunday matter to us. But you don't have those religions in your world, so why would it matter? Like, maybe Monday is a special day to you. Like, why would it matter? We're never told. We're just like, Monday, Wednesday, or Sunday. Yes, those are days of the week that we have in our world as well, but they would have very different meanings for your world. Oh my, I just keep getting attacked. Do you want to be a dragon? What you really want is just to just bite the soft skin of Mummy's underarms. That's what you really want. And you know when I have a book in my hand, so I cannot fight back. Yeah, get the book. Bite it. Bite the book. Apparently there were cards that she could memorize. Maybe they did flashcards, because Rhiannon is like, you memorized the cards, right? So you know what's out there? And it's like, we didn't need to see all of those cards, obviously. You don't sit there and give us a blow-by-blow of what each of the cards says, but like maybe show us some of them. As she's like sitting in her room that night, she looks at the cards and like memorizes a few facts for us so that we can learn some things about dragons. And then she can realize, I don't feel connected to any of them, which is what she says here. So like we could have that be a whole separate thing where we learn some stuff about dragons, bringing dragons into the story. And we learn that she doesn't feel connected to any of them. She's totally decided that she's over Dane because he was overprotective, and what an idiot for working to get her into the career that up until extremely recently she wanted. What a dick, I guess. We get a reminder that Jack, the guy who wants her dead, is also here. Not sure why, except for maybe we need to be reminded because he's going to do some unhinged bullying. He has not done much. Early on, he was her main bully. He was like out to kill her all the time. And we have barely seen him, except for just every now and then he'll be in the background throwing in some snide remark or referencing how he wants to kill her. But she's never had to wrestle with him in the ring. She never had to deal with him on the climbing apparatus. And I think it's because of this book's like contrived rules that it always makes up to make sure that the main character is in just the right amount of danger at any given time. But if you set us up with this unhinged bully who wants her dead, and then he just fades into the background, he doesn't feel like a threat like you intended. Like, what's he doing? Where's he been? And in a book like this, it seems just as likely that Jack might have been her love interest. Except for Jack's name is Jack and not something edgy like Zayden. Ah, it's a parrot! Go in! Oh! I have a pile of blankets over here, and so she climbs my chair and I poof her onto the blankets, and then she climbs my chair and I poof her onto the blankets. This is the game we're playing as I'm trying to read this book. This is a fun game, Mummy. Whee! Oh. This scene is one we've been anticipating for like the entire book, when she finally gets, whee! To bond with a dragon, you know, right? Like this is a dragon book. There's dragons on the cover. Like dragons are the thing. She's here to be a dragon rider. And I don't feel like anything that we have seen her do up until this point was in preparation for like meeting the dragons, getting chosen by a dragon, actually doing anything with the dragon. We're told that all of these stupid things, like the obstacle course, are meant to simulate having to climb onto your dragon or whatever, but like how, where, prove it. Her classes had more been about the history of the world and the world building and what's going on with the war, so we know the larger picture that's happening here, but like none of what has happened so far, all over 150 pages of it, feel like they were actually preparing her to deal with dragons. Some guy named Riddock also gives her a hug. His name is occasionally mentioned, so I guess we're supposed to believe that he's also a friend of hers. Mostly if there's like a named character who comes up more than once, they're probably gonna die in the author's misguided attempt to give us some pathos. She knows what centrifugal motion is. So she's met several dragons, pretty much off page. We're just told that she's been out here for a while. And she hasn't found her dragon yet, and she wonders if she's going to be one of those cadets who just never bonds with a dragon. And I'm like, no, hun, you're a main character. We have to just have this sense of, oh no, she's going to fail before she gets the coolest dragon. So she decides that she wants to get a better view of the whole area, so she starts to climb a tree, and it said that her hands were sore climbing the tree, and I was like, ooh, have we got her disability coming into play? But no, it's just because she cut her hands the previous day. We do know that the trees are changing color in the fall. Basically, I want to know if we're fixing to be training people to ride dragons in the middle of winter.
Not a great plan.
Oh, she spots a flash of gold. It's the gold dragon. Are we going to have our toothless moment here? I've now decided that this book is basically Divergent meets How to Train Your Dragon. Heavy on the Divergent, light on the How to Train Your Dragon. We had to be reminded that Jack is here because now him and one of the other bullies are like on the hunt for the cute little gold dragon, I think. Yeah, these two dumbasses, because they are unhinged bullies and unhinged bullies don't make logical choices, are hunting down the gold dragon to like harass or kill it rather than looking for their own dragons. You know, lighter swords exist. She sees that all of the boys, the bully boys below her, have swords, and all she has is daggers. And she's like, damn me, I just can't wield a sword. They're all too heavy. And it's like, you don't need to wield a great sword. Light swords exist and can still do significant damage. Also, I guess archery just doesn't exist in this world? Like, what? Not that I expect she'd be a terribly good archer either, because it does actually take a decent amount of strength to draw back a bow with any level of, like, effective weight to it. I don't know why these unhinged bullies, aside from the fact that they are unhinged bullies, I don't know why they're going after this dragon. They're like, it's weak, and so we have to kill it, or else someone will bond with it, and then we'll have a weak dragon. And it's like, that is the thinnest excuse I've ever heard, so I'm pretty sure that the only reason they want to go kill this dragon is because they're unhinged bullies, and they would rather put aside anything else, including getting their own dragons to ride on, to go be unhinged bullies. If I hadn't crossed unhinged bullies off, I should just black out the entire square because this is impressive. She's worried that the little dragon won't be able to defend itself from these three humans. And I'm like, it can fly though. And they only have swords. You only saw them having swords. Are they going to yeet their swords at the dragon? It can just leave. But we have to have the main character being a hero when she sees the unhinged bullies going to go harass a dragon who could totally probably just fly away from them. She's like, no, I have to get there and save it. Conveniently, again, this is reminding me of Lightlark. She just has abilities that she pulls out of her ass that were totally from her childhood. Like, she's creeping up behind the bully squad, and she says, thankful I grew up playing hide and seek with Dane in the woods. This is one area of expertise I can confidently claim. Like, yep, thank goodness. We needed to know why she's so stealthy, so she totally used to be really good at hide and seek, you guys. Trust us. Oh, suddenly she's decided, finally, I've been asking for it this whole time, but finally she's decided to remember that she has like loose joints, and she's like creeping along and she just, like, fucking pops her knee out of place. I don't know how. She falls in a hole. Puts her foot in a hole or something. Not paying attention to where her feet are going, I guess. Hide and seek didn't teach her about that. And her knee pops out. Oh no, her ankle. Her ankle has popped out. Mostly this is here because she has to be put at an even greater disadvantage, I guess, when she faces these bullies. Was she at too much of an advantage already because we know that she's such a badass and so very clever? Not only is she going to stand up for this poor dragon, but she's going to do it with a dislocated ankle. Does it not have wings? Fortunately, she popped her ankle out like a few steps from where the dragon is. And she sees the dragon sitting there, and she is like, it's a sitting duck. And I'm like, can it not fly? So she's got the golden dragon's attention. Apparently she beat the boys here, even with popping her ankle out of joint. And she's trying to get the dragon. She's like, shoot, get out of here, dragon. And the dragon's just like looking at her. The boys show up and she wishes that the dragon would scorch them, but she's like certain actually that this dragon can't even breathe fire. In case we are too stupid I'm giving this, do you think your reader is dumb? Because this is just ridiculous. But yes, in case we are too dumb to realize the similarities, it's going to die because it's smaller, weaker than the other dragons, just like me. This book ostensibly isn't even written for teenagers because the characters are technically adults, and that seems to be the cutoff, even though I think that's stupid. So you're telling me that you think 20-year-olds are too dumb to pick up that the dragon is just like her, all on her own, without you having to point it out? Okay, where is it? Do you think your reader is dumb? On the bingo card. Seriously, I am insulted. For some reason, the dragon doesn't fly away, even though the boys are here with their swords now. The dragon is just growling. So our main character has to step out of her hiding place with her dislocated ankle and save the dragon. Now, possibly, giving this the benefit of the doubt, maybe the dragon set this up. Like, not the boys coming to kill it, but maybe the dragon could totally get out of the situation or defend itself, but it wants to see what she will do because it wants to bond with her. That is the only way that I will let this scene stand, because as it otherwise stands, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's a dragon. Fly away. Yep, she limps her ass out into the center of the clearing and stands in front of the golden dragon. I also love how she, like, injured herself, tripping over, like, a twig just before the situation so that we can see her be like the bravest and the boldest also while her ankle is dislocated. It wouldn't be enough that she just does this. We have Jack. He walks forward slowly. Maybe he walks slowly towards me. You know how I feel about forward and how generally useless I find it. Could also say something like, he closes the gap between us. He stalks towards me. I know, that's a pet peeve. Julian pet peeves. Also, she is getting ready to throw one of her daggers, and like, we have had no indication that these are throwing daggers at any point. She says, this isn't the mat, there are no instructors, no yielding, nothing to stop them from slaughtering me. People died in the wrestling training as well, so really, it was very random when people were saved by instructors there. Oh, seriously? As if the situation could not be more contrived, I hate this. I would strongly recommend you rethink your actions. A voice, his voice, demands from across the field to my right. Xaden is leaning against a tree, his arms folded across his chest. Across his chest is redundant. So this is a good spot to point out what I like to call crutch motions. You've heard of crutch words, I'm certain, because I think we've talked about it here on this channel at the very least, but also many of us authors, myself included, can fall into a pattern of reusing the same gestures that a character makes over and over and over again, to the point where the reader clocks it, where it becomes noticeable. And for Xaden, this author has him fold his arms across his chest, those exact words, so many times. If anybody is reading this on Kindle, please tell me how many times that actually happens in the book. I didn't point it out, but it was annoying me as I was reading. Like, I was getting frustrated because that was his go-to gesture. Now, it's fine if a character in character does have a go-to gesture, but it didn't feel like this was that. It just felt like the author was just defaulting back to, oh, I want to have him do something physically to break up this dialogue. He's gonna fold his arms across his chest. That's just what he does. And he's also brought his dragons. I'm so mad at this scene for like so many different reasons. I cannot. I'm gonna go put some ferrets away. That's how the chapter ends. I'm so angry with this. But I'm gonna turn off the camera now and put ferrets away. Alright, ferrets are put away. I'm back for more infuriating chapters. Alright, chapter 14. We still have not bonded with a dragon, but at least there is a dragon present. The quote is, "In 6 centuries of recorded history of dragon and rider, there have been hundreds of known cases where the dragon simply cannot emotionally recover from the loss of their bonded rider. This happens when the bond is particularly strong, and in 3 documented cases has even caused the untimely death of the dragon." Navarre, An Unedited History by Colonel Lewis Markham. Oh, but I guess there are some more contrived rules that say that Xaden, even though he's here with his dragon, can't interfere. You're really going to do this? I ask Tynan. Attack a squad mate? Squads don't mean shit today, he seethes.
Fairy lives don't matter today.
Okay, well, I guess that she does get to fight, at least at first. So she's winning, she takes out 2 of them, at least for the moment, with thrown daggers, and she's fighting one of them, and she's doing, you know, that whole, like, ducking, dodging, slicing thing that people with daggers in movies are always doing. So I don't know what she was worried about, because actually she's doing quite well. And she has dragon scale armor, so he slashed her, but it didn't matter because she's cheating and wearing armor. This is why we needed to hurt her ankle, actually. I thought it was to make her even more of a sad sack, but in reality, it was so that she didn't kick their asses too well. I don't know, this fight scene still bothers me, even though, hey, at least she's getting to fight. Good for her. Her boyfriend has to watch, of course, because, you know, how else would he see it? What a badass she is. But she's injured to begin with because she popped her ankle out tripping on a branch. But, like, she's still doing really well. There are 3 people fighting her and she's doing really well. It seems obvious to me that the writer couldn't come up with a reason for her to just not completely win against these 3 people. It's this author's fight scene. She can write it how she wants. If I was writing this fight scene, let's say I was writing this fight scene, I'd do away with the injured ankle, and I would just have her struggle to fight 3 people at once. Like, even if she's very good with these daggers and she has armor, there are 3 of them, and she already, like, she whipped daggers into 2 of them to start, so they were way slowed down, so she only had to do 1 at a time, which is smart, but, like, I don't know, for me, I wouldn't feel the need to pre-injure her. I would just have her, a small person with crappy joints, struggle to fight 3 people at once. I don't know, like, this author is so caught between this world of making her main character, like, such an incredible badass and have amazing martial prowess, but at the same time, we also have to believe that she's weak and doesn't belong here, or at least, you know, give us reasons why other people would think that. And this back and forth is where I really think we're having the problem. This author can't pick a lane. She has to try and have both. She has to have a main character who wins fights and is a total bamf. And she also has to be, like, believably weak enough that other people would think that she's not a threat, or that she doesn't belong here. And those 2 things are in conflict, and so we have to do these contrived things, like have her pop her ankle out of joint before she even starts the fight, so that when we get into the fight, and she's winning against 3 people because you wanted to make her such a badass, that we don't question, you know, when she starts to lose, because she was already pre-injured. Just like that, I think, is ultimately where my frustration is coming down from. She's fighting 3 people. She's never done that before. She doesn't need to be winning so easily. You could have her joint pop out during the fight. That would be more realistic than just like she tripped over a random stick on her way in here. So Xaden is still watching, and he did warn her about an incoming blow, and somebody says, "You can't interfere," and he says, "But I can narrate." That gave me a very mild chuckle. This girl is so stupid. Like, why are you so convinced that he wants you dead? He has done nothing to show that he wants you dead, but she's like, "He's obviously on my side here," which confuses the hell out of me, since more than anything, I'm certain he wants me dead. Where does this certainty come from? Oh, we got a badass over here. So the bad guy taunts her, one of the bad guys taunts her because they cut her arm, and she says, "I'm used to functioning in pain, asshole. Are you?" Which would be great and more meaningful if we saw her doing that a lot more because of her disability. Instead, she just injures herself a lot. Not because of her disability, but just in the natural course of all of the things. Like, if she didn't have a disability, she would still have sustained most of the injuries that she's sustained. So one of the guys has finally gotten the better of her. These are the beats that I totally expected in this fight. One of them finally gets the better of her and is going to kill her, and she's accepted her fate. And oh no, Xaden is about to step in. Rules be damned, and she's confused about that because she's dumb as a box of rocks. And then, of course, the dragon intervenes. Oh, we've got a double whammy. Oh, y'all, we got a double whammy. I did not see this coming. It's not just the golden dragon, it's the black dragon. You remember the super duper cool black dragon from before? The one that I predicted originally was going to be her dragon? So now we have the super special golden dragon and the super special black dragon, and they're both here. And it's speaking to her in her head, which means that the black dragon is probably going to be her dragon after all. I was right the first time. Yep, the super special, awesome, badass black dragon who never chooses anyone has chosen her. She's snarking with the dragon. Apparently that's fine. This dragon is just doing everything for her. It bends down and stretches out its legs so she can climb it more easily. And she's like, "Dragons never supplicate for anyone, and yet here he is, bowing to make it easier for me to climb up." Just the specialness is pouring out of this situation.
You're the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe.
So, okay, we find out where the riders sit. And it's like right in front of their wings on their shoulders. But judging by how huge these dragons are, she must basically be doing the splits. Apparently they've been practicing on model dragons to ride this whole time, and we didn't see a single one of those classes. Everything about him is bigger than the model he practiced on. This is the first I'm hearing of it. Would have preferred to see that. Her dragon's name is Tairn, and she immediately slides off the dragon. Maybe you should have paid more attention to those classes where you learn to ride dragons. I'm sure he'll, scoop back around and grab her. She'll be fine. No way the main character falls off this far into the book and dies. Although, honestly, I could go for a different main character. Really anybody at this point. You know, Rhiannon's cool. If we could give her a little bit more personality, I'd follow her. Anyway, I need to go empty the memory card. We'll be back for the next chapter.
All right, it's that time again. You know what time it is. It's time for me to remind you that I am a developmental editor that you can hire. Have you always dreamt of saying, "My book is with my editor," but you've looked into the process and it seems so intimidating? There are so many options out there. Do you go with a big company? Do you go with a freelancer? Well, the nice thing about going with a freelancer like me is that we can build up a rapport, a relationship. I want to see your character art. I want to see your playlist that you've created for your book. Even though I'm going to be very honest with you and tell you where your book needs work, I'm also rooting for it 110%, and I want to see it published someday. So if you're looking for somebody to both give you realistic and sometimes harsh feedback that you need to make your book better, but you also want somebody who's rooting for you 110%, hey, maybe I'm the developmental editor for you. And then you can say, "My book is with my editor."
We're back, baby. I'm just going to film as much of this book as I can stand today because I need to get through this thing. Let's go. Chapter 15. Just because you survive the threshing doesn't mean you'll survive the ride to the flight field. Everything has to be dangerous. Everything has to be a chance for you to die in this book. Being chosen isn't the only test. If you can't hold your seat, then you'll fly straight to the ground. How does anybody become a dragon rider in this world? That was from page 50 of the Book of Brennan, her brother's diary that she's used one time. Our character is going through, "Yeah, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got into this position," moment as she falls. She is just constantly sassing this dragon. He should drop her. Because he catches her, of course. He catches her in her claws. And he says, "You're making us look bad. Stop it." And she says, "It's not easy to stay on your back when you're doing acrobatics." Probably shouldn't sass the dragon that deigned to catch you, even though they usually don't. We get reminded how special this dragon is. The only unbonded black dragon that hadn't agreed to bond this year. He hadn't even been seen in the last 5 years. His rider died in the Tirish Rebellion. So he tosses her in the air and then scoops her back onto his back, and she lands apparently without injury, onto this guy's back. And I'm just like, okay. This portion of the dragon book will be a cartoon. He's like, shouldn't you be better at this? Didn't you practice? And she's like, of course I practiced. And I'm like, did you? Because we never saw you do that. Then the dragon uses his magic to help her stay in place. And I'm like, you know, that kind of makes sense that the dragon would like participate in keeping his rider on. But at the same time, like that was never mentioned before. So her new fancy, awesome, kick-ass, badass dragon is like, we're gonna put on a show and I won't let you fall. I'll use my magic to hold you on. I can almost hear, he's flying around, we're getting it described. I can almost hear the How to Train Your Dragon music playing over this sequence. So she asks, why did you choose me? And of course he goes, because you saved her. I don't know if he set up this test, maybe we'll find out. But of course, she's special because she will stand up and fight for creatures that she personally relates to. Like, I really wish that we had seen more of this side of her. Like, this could be a side of her that we could really see, where she tends to take on no-win scenarios. Again, this would work slightly better if we went with the idea of her having wanted to be a dragon rider in the first place, because that's her first no-win scenario. So if she is constantly taking on no-win scenarios and standing up for the little guy, then we could see that this is a pattern of who she is. But because she hasn't been doing that, it's kind of like, yeah, she saved another little dragon, but we know, because we were in her head, that she did it because this dragon reminded her of her, not because it was the right thing, not because it was the moral thing, or not because she just habitually takes on battles that she shouldn't, but because this dragon reminded her of her. So I don't think this is as strong a message as the author intends it to be. It works fine on the surface, but if we were trying to make this book stronger, this should be a pattern of behavior for this character. So we knew well before this dragon chose her, we knew that she was the sort of person who always stands up for the little guy. We need to see her take on these scenarios where she thinks she's going to lose, and maybe sometimes she does lose, so that we know that this is who she is at her core, this is a fundamental part of her, this is why the dragon chose her.
And let's look at How to Train Your Dragon as an example. We have Hiccup, who is smaller, he is weaker than all of the other Vikings. He sucks at fighting dragons. But we don't mind when he turns out to get the super awesome rarest dragon as his companion, because Hiccup fundamentally is a person who you can understand. His motivations are clear. It's who he is. He has a very strong sense of self, even if that self is not the self that everybody else wants to see. Hiccup knows who he is. And so it is not in his nature ultimately to harm the dragon. And so he chooses a path that is outside what the other Vikings are doing. He chooses non-violence when everyone else is choosing violence. In this story, Violet does not choose a path outside of what the other dragon riders are doing. Now, she chooses a path outside of what these psychotic bullies with no realistic motivations are doing by defending the dragon instead of attacking it, but it is not their culture to attack dragons. These bullies are just behaving weirdly for the plot. There's no reason for them to be attacking this dragon, really. So she is not doing something that stands up against their culture. In fact, she is using violence and protecting a dragon which actually buys into their culture. So she does not feel quote-unquote worthy of the super special dragon because she just did everything that was expected of her by her weird dragon culture. And so it feels extremely, I guess anticlimactic is the only word. It feels undeserved. This is why Violet feels like a super contrived uber special instead of a relatable character like Hiccup.
Again, the author feels like she needs to point things out to us like we're stupid. How ironic. Taryn is the most celebrated dragon in the Vale, and I'm the most unlikely rider in the quadrant. He was the most celebrated dragon in the Vale, and she was the most unlikely rider in the quadrant. Can they become a dragon rider duo? But of course, while she's feeling insecure, the dragon has to stroke her ego. You're the smartest in your year, the most cunning. The dragon can read her mind, which means he's basically reading this book because her first person narrative is like what she's thinking most of the time. So he's just responding to her internal monologue as we are reading it. Also, the golden dragon is also here. Apparently, she just hangs out with Taryn 2 dragons for the price of 1. Good to know that they have playground equipment. So as she's getting off, her dragon once again, like, aids her by making a ramp out of his leg, and all the other dragons scoff, 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 scoff. Whoever heard of a dragon helping their human? But it says, then I slide down on my butt like he's a bumpy piece of lethal playground equipment. So they have playground equipment in this universe. Oh, and the little gold dragon can also communicate with our main character. So I thought she was going to get one or the other special dragon. She got both. And I'm going to give this main character as the special at this point. She got 2 dragons. Nobody else gets 2 dragons. Main character is the special. Here we go. Oh, our main character's mother is here, so her mother can see her come in with not 1, but 2 super cool, super rare dragons. So her mom is, of course, ignoring her and just looking at the dragon, and she's like, I did everything Mom wanted, and she's still not impressed with me. And it's like, yada, yada. Bad parents are a theme that I explore in a lot of my work. And this could have been another really interesting angle for this author to take, and just goes to prove once again that the only thing we are really here for is the romance. Now, I know this is a romantasy, but there's no rules that say that you can't have a romance and other themes as well, such as the theme of a daughter trying to prove herself to her mother. But until she, like, sees her mother in this moment and shows up with these really cool dragons, Violet doesn't think about her mom at all. There's nothing about their difficult relationship, the kind of relationship that they have, if they have one. She had a relationship with her father, but her relationship with her mother, existent or otherwise, is just not explored. Now, maybe we're saving that for another book, but we should be laying the groundwork for that in this book. And her mother just, being unimpressed with Violet shows up with the super special 2 dragons is not enough exploration. So she goes to sign in with her new dragon's name, and the little dragon also chimes in. So she's officially bonded to 2 dragons, and the little one is named Endorana. So she finally says that she has 2 dragons, and the chapter ends with, and all hell breaks loose. So the specialness of the main character is causing some consternation. Now I'm going to go put my food in the oven, and I'm certain you will see me dressed like this again and sounding just as nasally, because I have more of this book to get through. I'm determined. Maybe I can get closer to halfway before I give up for the day. All right, I'm back. I had lunch. Took a little break. Lighting's probably different from the last time you saw me, but otherwise, we are back. Still plowing headfirst through this book, trying to make good time. We are on chapter 16. Though this officer considers himself to be an expert on all matters dragonkind, there is still a great deal we don't know about the way dragons govern themselves. There is a clear hierarchy among the most powerful, and deference paid to the elders, but I have not been able to discern how it is that they make laws for themselves, or at what point the dragon decided to bond only 1 rider rather than go for the better odds with 2. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind. Kaori, the reason you can't figure it out is because it's contrived. We don't need it to make sense. Return of the Ellipses and italics. We've got a lot of italics in this book as well. 2 dragons. I have ... 2 dragons. Also, if you were wondering, the reason that there were 3 bullies that came after her was that so Jack could escape. Well, at least one of the other bullies got french fried by the dragon. Apparently, someone else broke their leg during dismounting their dragon. Not like dislocated something. Legs are hard to break. And she broke it dismounting the dragon. Good God. Also, for some reason, even though this is like a super dangerous thing where people get injured all the time, all they have out here today are field medics, like no professional healers. Planning? Who's that? We don't know her. Everything about this dragon society must be maximally dangerous. Of course, Dane is still here, and he still has the one and only personality trait of overly concerned about her safety. And he's like, you could still leave. And she's like, no, of course not. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, why would she leave? She just got 2 dragons. She thinks about her squad. Please let Rhiannon be alive, and Trina and Riddock and Sawyer, all of them. And I'm like, I know who Rhiannon is. I don't know jack shit about Trina, Riddock, and Sawyer, except for their names come up every now and then. She also managed to injure Jack so much that he's going to need surgery on his shoulder, whereas she just, like, is going to be fine. Although, do they do surgery if they have magical healers? Like, is surgery still a thing that's necessary? course, she's now feeling very smug because he ran away when they were fighting, and she's not scared of him anymore, which would mean a lot more if he was actually a threat for most of this story up until this point. Like I said, he just occasionally shows up in the background menacing her, but he's usually over in the space of 2 paragraphs and she's moved on. The one she worries way more about her romantic interest trying to kill her, and she hasn't seen him actively murder people like she has seen Jack do. Of course, Jack starts to try to menace her again, and one of the professors steps in and says she doesn't need to hide behind me when she's bonded to the most powerful dragon of our year. Oh my god, she's such a special, special girl.
He is the life of parties he has never attended. If he were to punch you in the face, you would have to fight off the strong urge to thank him. Sharks have a week dedicated to him.
You guys know how I feel about it. Like, I'm never going to relate. I never have and I never will. I'm never going to relate to those characters who just turn out to be the special. I know that so many people do relate to those characters. So it's not like that's a bad choice necessarily for your book. It's just never been something I've been able to relate to. You know, I grew up very, very poor, and like, I've known my whole life that I'm never gonna turn out to be the special. There's never going to be this moment where everybody realizes that I have some great value that they just didn't understand, and all this time, you know. So as a result, I also write books like that. If you are looking for books about characters who never turn out to be the chosen one, who never turn out to be the special, they're still cool, they still have magical powers, they're just ordinary people. They're ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Now, maybe ordinary people in their world also have magic, but they're never the savior. They're never going to get the 2 dragons. They're never going to turn out to be the special one, because those are just the characters that I relate to so much more. Ordinary people doing their fucking best. Those are the people that I relate to. So if you're interested in that, if you're like me and don't relate to the one who's just the most special and gets all of the awesome things, basically through no effort of their own, if you want something a little change of pace from that, may I interest you in my books? Apparently Jack's dragon has had 4 riders before him, implying that he's not a very good dragon actually and gets them all killed. Yeah, she's the first person to ever bond with 2 dragons. So the dragons are now going to have a little dragon council, and the biggest dragon also happens to be the alpha dragon, and he comes stomping in. He belongs to General Melgren. Her dragon, of course, tells her that while the dragons are talking, go away, the dragons are talking, she should stand over by Xaden. Oh, good. Rhiannon survived, which I thought that she would, and also Riddock, that guy who's kind of also there. So Rhiannon gets a green dagger tail. I believe the greens are the most common, I think we've heard at some point. And Riddock got a brown sword tail. And Sawyer, again, another character we don't care about, got a red sword tail.
So I didn't notice this when I was reading, but editing back through, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, the women can't even get swords when they're dragons. The girl, Rhiannon, she got a dagger tail, and the 2 boys, they got sword tails. Like, what the fuck is that? Why? We will never give a woman a sword. Absolutely not. Not even when it is just referring to the tail shape of her dragon. I'm dying.
Oh no, not Trina. Trina, who was totally a whole and real character that we care about, didn't make it through the threshing. Oh no, not Trina.
Oh no! There's Melanie. That's a shame, she was really nice.
So Dane comes over and he's like, come with me. And she thinks she's gonna have to go talk to her mother. But instead, it's Xaden. Oh no, never mind. He's pulling her away from Xaden. He wants to talk to her in private. So he says that you're gonna have to choose a dragon. And she says, I'm not choosing. No human has ever chosen, and I'm not about to be the first. So you're fine with being the first person to ever have 2 dragons. That's a first that you're okay with. But you won't do a different first. That would make you stand out too much. Does this little dragon exist just for this scene? Because Dane's like, you're gonna have to choose, and you should choose a little weakling dragon so you never go into battle. He is such, like, just a cardboard person. He has one personality trait, and that is trying to get her out of the Dragon Corps. Like, worried about the main character is his one and only purpose in life. I think I'm gonna give it paper thin characters for this because, like, nobody has a real personality. I couldn't even really tell you what the main character's personality is. I guess clever, but everybody else has one thing. Like, her real boyfriend is just broody and dark. I guess that's two things, but they kind of qualify into one thing. Dane's personality trait is worried about the main character. Rhiannon's personality trait is gay. There's nobody else, really. No one else is a main character. There's no other characters who get like a significant amount of lines or even come close to having a personality. Maybe the dragons will get some. You know, a lot of writers make these like character charts for their characters where they write down all of the things about them. If I tried to fill out one of those for any of these characters, I would put one thing and then have to stop. Because it doesn't count. No matter how many things I bet you this author would fill up those little charts with things that she thinks her characters are. But unless you put it in the book, it's not real. It's just in your head. It's just on the chart. You have to, if you want it to be real for your readers, you have to include it in the book. We hear that Xaden, who will be her wing leader, will get her killed because he's dangerous and unpredictable, and I would love to see some of that. Oh, she also finds out that her dragon is mated to Xaden's dragon, so they will have to hang out together. Like, it's so contrived. We have to have all of these reasons that the main character has to be around Xaden, who's totally a wild card and unpredictable and dangerous. Believe us, you guys. Believe us. Oh my god. My pulse quickens as Xaden steps into the moonlight, darkness falling off him like a discarded veil. Of course, she gets, like, wet at the sight of him immediately. I hate the reaction of my body at the sight of him, but I can't deny it. Finally, she realizes that Xaden is not trying to kill her. All this time, all her interactions with him, and finally she's like, wait. He, like, tried to protect me back there. Turns out my dragon and his dragon are a couple. Maybe he's not trying to kill me. Ma'am. You think? I hate the way these people talk. Did I see her outnumbered and already wounded? This is Xaden. Did I think her bravery was admirable as it was fucking reckless? And then she says, and I would do it again. I raise my chin. Well the fuck aware, Xaden roars. I hate it. I hate the way that these people talk. Can they not just talk like humans? They talk like what adults think teenagers talk like. Calm the fuck down. Oh my god, these people are so dramatic. Xaden says, Sorengale is the last person on the continent I'd ever want to be chained to me. I didn't do this. And then she says, ouch, it takes all the willpower in my body not to reach for my chest and make sure he didn't just rip my heart out from behind my ribs. Jesus Christ, calm down. She also reminds herself that his father is directly responsible for her brother's death. But that doesn't mean a damn thing, because this guy and his father are different people. Like, maybe if Xaden was responsible for her brother's death, or at least she thought he was, like, their dislike for each other would make more sense. But she has absolutely no evidence that he wants to harm her in any way. And in fact, lots of evidence to the contrary. This book is said to be a villain gets the girl book in a lot of people's estimations. And I'm like, where? Where is he a villain? How is he a villain? Being a little bit grumpy and having shadow powers doesn't make you the villain of the story. Do you understand what the villain of the story is? Or any villain in the story? You know who's a villain? Homicidal bully Jack. If she got with him at the end of this book, that would be a villain gets the girl story. Xaden is nowhere in any way a villain. Even when you saw him having a clandestine meeting, it just turned out that he was trying to help his squad mates. It was just a study meeting. Like, no. This is not enemies to lovers because, like, they're barely enemies and he is constantly, like, standing up for her and being on her side, even though he's a little grumpy about it sometimes. And this is definitely not villain gets the girl. Before the boys can come to blows over our beautiful, delicate Violet, the dragons are back. And Xaden is like, hey, if you had to break the rules to defend Violet, would you have? And Dane is like, no. And she's like, damn. I knew he always valued the rules more than me, which would be more meaningful if he hadn't been trying to bend or break the rules to get her out of the dragon school, so, like, He was gonna smuggle her out. Before he like found a way to legally get her into the scribe quadrant, he was gonna smuggle her out. But now she's like, he's such a rule follower. The author has decided that he's such a rule follower that he would have let Violet die, and he admits that to her face. Because this is the part in the book where she's supposed to realize that Dane is not an appropriate leg to her love triangle. It hasn't been built up. It hasn't been proven that he's a consummate rule follower. In fact, the opposite has been proven by his actions. The only reason that he went and like tried to find a legal way for her to transfer to the quadrant is because she told him if they did it the unlegal way, her mother would come drag her back. It's so everything, I'm just going to keep saying it. The tagline of this book is, it's so contrived. And like I've talked about many times, being a writer means taking contrived situations, because everything in the book is contrived, you're making it up out of your head, is making something that is by its very nature contrived feel like it isn't that way. That is the power of being an author, is to take something that should feel very contrived and make your reader go, no, this is exactly how it needed to happen. Or your reader doesn't even think about it at all. And the way you do that is by proving what you say on the page. In this situation anyway, there's different ways to do it, but in this situation, proving it. So proving, for example, that she is a sort of person who bravely stands up for the little guy before she has to do it in a big plot pivotal moment. Proving that Dane is a consummate rule follower who will sacrifice anyone for the rules before he admits to her that he would have let her die for the rules. Neither of those things happened in this book. And so when we get to those points, they feel contrived. Again, this is not true. This is not true. So she and Xaden have like left Dane and they're still flirting, gripping my elbow and yanking me out of the path of another rider running from the other direction. Yesterday, he would have let me run headfirst into him. Hell, he might have even pushed me. That is untrue. I don't believe you. I say that to this author so much. Rebecca, I feel like I have to look at their name, like I'm addressing them. Rebecca, I don't believe you. Also, I love that we just have to have these two characters, her and her sexy, broody romantic interest, bonded in some other way. So, like, it feels even less natural that they end up together because their dragons are already mates, and so they like feel like the dragon's connection becomes the human's connection, and so like we have even more reason for these two to end up together. Every time a dragon chooses a rider, the bond is stronger than the last, which means if you die, violence, he's still calling her violence, it sets off a chain of events that potentially ends in me dying too. And she thinks, I'm tethered to Xaden Ryerson. It's so contrived, it's so contrived. Of course, we have to make sure that our main character is still in mortal danger at all times, or at least there's the illusion that she is. Because he says, the unbonded are going to try to kill you in hopes they'll get Taryn to bond them. The next few months, the unbonded will try to kill every newly paired rider while their bond is weak, while they still have a chance of that dragon changing its mind and picking them. Has that ever happened? Is there precedent for that? I also don't understand how that helps anything. Like, if the dragon didn't choose you, how does killing their human make them choose you? How does that... Like, everything is supposedly to weed out the weak. How does that weed out the weak? Our character's such a badass, you guys. He says, you're freakishly calm for someone who just heard she's about to be hunted. And our main character says, that's a typical Wednesday for me. Yeah, it'd be great if we actually saw that in action at any point before now. There's another rule that humans can't hear what happened in the dragon meeting. Because of course not. That's why she couldn't, like, read their minds while they were in the dragon meeting, because of their special bond. Couldn't have that. So there's just a rule about it. This book invents rules whenever it just needs the character not to do something. Apparently they have heaven in this universe. Kaori must be in heaven tonight with all the dragon politics coming to light. While tradition has shown that there is one rider for every dragon, there has never been a case of two dragons selecting the same rider, and therefore there is no dragon law against it. Oh, here's a power that she apparently has with her dragons. If the dragon wants her to, she can see what they see. She can see through their eyes. And the reason they're doing this is because she's just been, like, marked by her dragon, and her mark is on her back. So she has to see through their eyes to see it. And it's the thing from the cover. She has 2 of those on her back.
By the way, the seeing what the dragon sees ability never comes up again in this book. It just exists so that she could see the mark that's on her back.
Then Dane comes over and is like, sorry about before, and gives her a smoochy smooch. She's excited by this because apparently she's been waiting all this time for him to do that. Sure. But this doesn't make her all hot and bothered. So she's like, nope, Dane is not the one. Because you cannot find 2 people sexually attractive at the same time. It's against the rules. It's everything I ever wanted, ... except ... Shit, I don't want it anymore. Is it everything you ever wanted? I don't know. She's had some slight attraction to Dane sometimes, but not anymore. Now we have to wonder, does she actually like Xaden because she likes him? Or is it because the dragon bond thing? Their dragons are all, the dragons are fucking, so they should be too, I guess. God, I don't know how it works. Stupid rules. But that's the end of that chapter, and I might go do something else for a while, or I might come back and read the next one. I don't know. Depends on what I feel like.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must know.
Well, that's okay. I'll just tell you. Tell you the names of my patrons, that is. Patrons like July, Bird Anonymous, Sunny Shy, Nico, Saga, Sarah, Kat, 78 Kilograms of Shade, Veda, Ingrid, Roma, Pantsing Pony, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaro, Mooney, Maria, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, KJ, Lafone, Amanda, Celia, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, The Unraveled Legion, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah H. I'm so glad that these patrons have decided to reveal their identity by helping me out over on Patreon.